So once again, I'm delighted to be joined by Barry Murphy. We're talking gas, and I've asked Barry back again because literally things have been moving. June was going to be the big moment. It didn't happen in Tynwald. July now is, I mean, we hope anyway, because more amendments potentially could be placed. You just don't know. But anyway, that, and you've got this group of yours together, and you've got the petition. So there's so many things to cover. But let's go back. Are you disappointed in the June sitting that things didn't come to a head? And if not, why not?
I was disappointed, yeah. Probably 3 weeks have passed now, so we have to pick up and move on. It's just one of them things. I think there was an opportunity missed. That's what I said at the time.
Yeah, because Chris Thomas brought what you wanted forward.
He brought the motion forward. It was seconded by Rob Callister on the day, and I was in the Tynwald Court gallery at the time, and it's very difficult to actually hear in the public gallery there exactly what's going on. But I have read a lot of Hansard since, and there was a very, very long conversation on it about the best way forward. And there was a bit of confusion on the day regarding whether or not an imposed regulatory deal as opposed to a voluntary agreement moving forward, if there was an imposed regulation, whether or not that deal could be backdated to January, because gas customers have got this promise that any new deal should in actual fact be backdated to January.
So that's why it stalled, is it?
I think it was a major reason on the day.
Because there was this amendment, and that's why it did.
Well, the new Policy and Reform Minister, Mr. Harmer, he brought forward a second,
which has been Cohen-based, no doubt. Obviously,
I would have thought so. I would have thought so. Yeah, and so there was a long discussion on that, and I think, I guess in summary on the day, it was decided that in actual fact, if something has taken four years to decide, that in actual fact, for the sake of rushing something through there and then, they should sit and wait for another 4 weeks. So in actual fact, coming into July now, there's only two options on the table, and the two of them are written here on my piece of paper, and I'm going to read it because I don't want to get it wrong. It's the heads of terms for a new voluntary agreement for approval. So in other words, it will be another voluntary agreement, which I don't think is a very clever idea, because the previous voluntary agreement has us where we are right now. Yeah. Or a timetable regarding the introduction of regulation to cover the public supply of gas for customers, which conforms to best UK regulatory practice and is in line with other proposals and conclusions of the Gas Regulatory Review Committee's report published in 2019. So to summarise that, you get much of what you had before, but probably a slightly crisper version. I guess a lot of the pitfalls and the loopholes would have to be filled in, because if we go back down that same road that we've been for the last 4 years, that would just be tragic. Or else we have the better idea, which is pretty much what Chris Thomas is looking for, and what I'm looking for, is imposed regulation. Ideally, I'd like it to be an independent regulator, because I feel this, I've told you before, I believe that this OFT involvement is conflicted. It's too close to government. I don't see that's a good idea, and that's the same for all utilities. And it also is in line and has to fulfil the conclusions of the NERA report. The NERA report was very specific. It said that certain conclusions should be implemented in order for gas consumers to get a good deal. And to me, there's only one solution, and that is part 2, which is on there.
Well, you've got a petition together as well, haven't you, your group?
It's never ending, Paul.
You push hard, because I follow your group. I mean, you must be disappointed initially, because not many people were signing it. I mean, you've had to work hard, and you see these other petitions for almost anything these days are going well. So have you got support, I suppose, is what I'm asking you.
I think we've done very well, really. I mean,
it's going well now. Yeah,
I literally set it up in my in my taxi. I think it was 3 weeks ago. Actually, sat on the side of the road, nothing better to do, and thought, you know what, I need to do something. So I set up a petition. It's been running for 3 weeks, and granted, it's one of the most boring subjects that either man has had to cope with for the last 4 years, and a lot of people probably wish I'd just clear off, and I will do eventually, I promise. But
you're going to shut it all down, aren't you? Until I think you said.
I want to try and bring this to an end. I do, and I think we're nearly home now.
What's the petition say? What's it actually?
The petition outlines what I've just read out.
That one, that B, option B, basically,
which is basically what I'm looking for, is option B, because I don't see. As I say, I think option A will be improved. That's what I honestly believe. But I don't think it's going to be good enough. I think, I'm going to tell you straight up, the OFT have failed. In my opinion, the OFT have failed. The previous government that signed this agreement failed. The previous Treasury that put this forward failed. And the OFT moving forward, in actual fact, not down to their own fault, have also failed, because they had a really bad piece of agreement to try to somehow regulate. And to go down that road again is just not going to work.
And how many years has this all gone on?
Well, the original agreement was, the current agreement was signed in 2015, and I set the group up in 2016, which was initially when banding came in. As I said to you before, I got my gas bill back sometime end of 2015, and my standing charges had gone up from 16p a day up to £1 and something, £1.09 or £1.10, and that was when I started the group out. So we're 4.5 years in now.
Well, you've been determined. We've always asked other people to come on, by the way. We haven't heard from the new, because there's a new boss at Manx Gas.
There is a new boss, yeah.
I mean, that's quite surprising. We yet to actually hear from him. I think we've got the name now out in the public.
Yeah.
I'd heard that for some time, but I don't think he's. And also the people who are handling the PR for them don't do it anymore. So I don't know. Again, so if anyone would like to talk to us, because we'd like to bounce something, hear their views. Have you spoken to the new guy?
I haven't.
Right.
It's, as I said to you as well, Paul. We've done several interviews. I'm not going to backtrack. I spoke to Mr. Plenderleaf. I actually really thought he was a really good guy. I liked him.
A go-getter.
I liked him. I did actually like him, and
he was good in interviews.
Yeah,
I mean, he's robust, but
you know, he was honest, and I liked him. I haven't met the new guy. I wish him all the best in his job. I've changed the name of the Facebook group now. Manx Gas, Ankara, all that is now pushed to one side. We are now just a working group. Right. I'd like to think in the last 4 weeks. It's not even 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks now, you know, that what we are is we're just working as a consumer group to get a fair deal. A good deal, but a fair deal. And we've been honest and open since the start. We just don't want a good deal for us. We want a good deal for us, a good deal for the government, because not every member of the public here in the Isle of Man is a gas consumer, so we don't want to sort of give everyone a bad deal. We want a good deal. We want the taxpayers to get a good deal, aka the government, and we want Manx Gas to get a fair deal. That's
a big question, because obviously 9.99, wasn't it, whatever it was, isn't going to be on the table.
No.
From whatever happens. So, you know, and we keep coming back to this all the time, that there's no one else there, is there? It's them or no one, potentially. So you've got to tread government presumably you've got to tread pretty carefully here.
You would imagine, Paul, after 4 years, that there's been some intense investigation and negotiations behind the scenes to cover all possible impacts of whatever's going to come out.
So they're going to come in with 5% or 8%, whatever it's going to be. They've got to come with a new number, right?
We have been, again, very clear on this. Certainly in the last 12 months we've been very clear. Bringing that rocky profit margin down to whatever percentage is not going to be enough for gas consumers. What's very clear is that Manx Gas are weighed down with costs to get gas from the Irish Sea, Glenmore, to the power station. They're weighed down with huge costs. There's no fixed legal definition of Rocky within this 2015 agreement that I can see, and I think if you ask any member of government or even Manx Gas, they'll have to agree with you on that. So what is not clear is what fixed costs can be accrued before that 9.99% is piled on top. The only way to get a fair deal is to get the costs down and then bring the Rocky down. Right. We have asked for 20%. I'm going to name a name here because this was in Hansard. Mr. Martin Perkins, MHK, in Tynwald, in June, said that Barry Murphy, me, had asked for 60%. I never asked for 60%. He was put right on the day. Somebody shouted across, no. Yeah. They've asked for 20%. We're not looking for 60%, we're looking for 20%. We've given the figures. We believe that at the very best, we're paying 60% more than Ofgem highest capped customers in the UK. Mm-hmm. So in actual fact, it's very likely that we're paying more than 60% in most instances than gas customers in the UK. But we're looking for a 20% reduction on the bill that comes through the front door. How the government achieve that is up to them, but I believe they can achieve it. But the government needs to be fair to Manx Gas, and Manx Gas needs to be fair to the consumer.
But over the years, like getting this gas to the turbines and that sort of thing, the government's been involved. They've done their bit, haven't they, along the lines, haven't they? You know, isn't that muddied the whole water about whose infrastructure half of this stuff is almost?
It's made it complicated, but...
Is that another day for another?
Well, I mean, I spent the first 2 years of this probably looking too much at the involvement of Manx Gas and how Manx Gas how these bills were so high coming through the door, and maybe I spent too much time looking at how Manx Gas were making these bills expensive and possibly not enough time looking at how the government were also doing their bit to make them expensive. This is a two-way challenge. I'm very careful what I say to you because clearly yes. I'm just a gas customer. Sixth time I've told you that, but it's as simple as this. We're being cost loaded in two directions. We're being cost loaded initially by the government, because they're cost loading Manx Gas. The government are us, in effect. We are the government. So we're cost loading ourselves, and then giving that cost to Manx Gas, who then add them costs and all these other costs together, and then eventually they're allowed to put that 9.99% on top of that.
Yeah.
We have to uncost ourselves. The government have to do that for us, and then we have to get that down.
And this is what OFT could never deal with or look at, or
the agreement is. I mean, I've not looked at that agreement for such a long time, but that agreement is so vague. There's nothing in it apart from this 9.99%.
Okay. To wrap this up, how confident are you? I mean, if you get your way, you can walk away. You can shut everything down. Happy days. Yes. Do you think there's more members?
Yeah. I want to close it down, Paul. I do want to. I desperately want to close it down. I'll tell you the reason why I want to close it down, because I want to come and see you another day about something completely different.
Okay.
I want to improve the legislation and the regulation of the private sector transport industry, aka taxis,
which is what your day job is. Or
yes, because I believe as well that the taxi regulation is outdated, and I believe that we're getting a very good deal.
Okay.
So that affects me.
Come and talk to us.
I will, and that affects me as an individual.
Yeah.
This is just something that I've got very involved in, but what I am very concerned about is my other...
There's no doubt in your passion. I mean, I can see an MHK standing here looking at me. It's a year away. Sitting even. You got a bit red in the face there.
I mean, look,
Are you blushing?
Everyone's fed up of listening to me at this stage, Paul. I mean,
is that a no? Is that a yes?
Well, I mean, look, I'm Kurt Michael, but Alf and Tim. I mean, you know, they're hard guys to beat.
We'll park that one for another day as well. Any final thing on this? Because you've been, whatever people may say, you have been absolutely a dog on the bone with this. And you haven't had the best support in your group even sometimes when you've had the demos.
No.
And, you know, lack of interest. But yet everyone has an interest in this thing, almost everyone, because they have got their gas users.
Yeah, I mean, people should have a real interest in this, because they'll have a real interest when the bill comes through the door. I'd imagine in the next 12 months, and they're paying a lot less, and then they might say, do you know what, he wasn't such a bad guy after all. The thing is, when you do something like this for 4 years, sometimes you get people start getting personal. I've had personal attacks about this because people are sick of looking at this face. I don't think it's a bad looking face, man, but you know, people are getting fed up with me. But the truth is this, Paul, I'll say a couple more things. First of all, thanks to you. I'm not going to say for supporting us, but thanks for covering it. Thanks to all our members of the group. There's some of them have been outstanding. We've got in there, it's gone up and up and up. We're on at 1,900, I think now. There's 300, 400 in the last couple of months because interest keeps growing and growing. Thanks to each and every one of them, but there is some particular members in there that have just been outstanding, particularly the ones that have stood in the cold streets with the placards up and stuff. They've been outstanding. I'd also reach out to the politicians. The politicians are working people, but they earn a lot more than the rest of us. And the majority of them politicians that are going to make this decision on the day will most likely be oil customers. They need to put themselves in the shoes of gas customers, and they really need to get hold of the figures and the numbers that gas consumers have been paying for the last 4 years. And they also need to try and work out whether or not gas consumers need to be plunged into another voluntary agreement, which is basically going to give them a bad deal for another, heaven knows, 4 years. That cannot be the case. So I would urge them to seriously think about doing the right thing to get proper regulation and to get all of the terms and conditions of that NERA report implemented. That's what I would hope for.
Fine. And one more time, if anyone from Manx Gas would like to join us, please feel free, because we do you got in touch with us, and we do sort of rely on that. If you're volunteering, that's great. We would love to hear that side of the story. And
can I say one more thing, just to wrap up? I'd like to put a link to our petition. I've only got one more week to get that petition in. That petition's going to go to Howard Quayle, MHK, Chief Minister, and it's also going to go to every other MHK, and it's going to go to every other MLC. I'm not one of these guys that puts things together and then just doesn't do anything with it. This will go.
It's on the Facebook group, you find it?
It is on the Facebook page, and I'll put a link under your video. And I've also asked MHK Thomas to refer to my petition on the day at Tynwald, and he has agreed he will do. So there's a lot of petitions going around at the minute for various different reasons, and I appreciate, some people are sick and tired of signing petitions, but this is one chance we have. If you're a gas consumer, get behind it. All you've got to do, click the button, and that's what you've got to do. And thank you so much, Paul, for everything.